Twitch and/or YouTube. Getting things set up here. So, first flight in a the 747. We've done pushback.
Start engine 3.
So I have never flown this aircraft before. It'll be very interesting. This is the CLS Boeing 747. In particular, this is the Dash 300, but the pack also includes a Dash 200. And are we going to get a collision here because the stupid ground vehicle? If it does, I'm going to be very, very ticked off. Nope. Okay, good. Yeah, I wouldn't want to play chicken with a 747 either. Engine 4 start. Hello there, Shahar.
Coming up.
This is very much of an F-Light series. I think that their DC-10 is a even more complex aircraft than this is. Well, I guess our beacon light should have been on. Nav lights. Engine 2.
Start number 2.
This is the 747-300 by CLS, and the CLS house livery. Okay, all engines are started, fuel flow is there. Alright. Set trim.
Flaps 1.
What should be our...
Flaps 5. Flaps 10.
Go with flaps 10 for takeoff. Alright. Before I forget, I did see the TCAS switch. TCAS is armed. So we are definitely from the 1970s into the 1980s. In terms of electronic, you know, switch from the old steampunk dials to the new EFIS electronic flight instrument systems goodness here. Wow, I'm certainly not used to turning this sucker. So one thing with a larger aircraft, what you use is thrust. So I got a warning light here. Let me see what... no, that's not it. That's not it either. Stabilizer out trim. Seatbelt smoking sign. So I got a red light and it says stabilizer. That can't be it. That would be anti-icing. Engine de-ice, strobe lights, landing lights. Yeah, that's a red. Gen, all that looks good. Guess those should be armed. Huh. I do not know. Again, I'm missing something here, but... to help turn the aircraft, I'm going to use what's called differential thrust, meaning I'm going to turn up the thrust on number 4 engine, basically to all the way, in order to help us turn. If I need to turn to the left, I'll turn the, if I need to turn to the right, I'll use engine number 1. Quite a bit of get up and go. Stabilizer out of trim. Guess that's what I'm reading. I don't know what that means. So yes, Twitch and YouTube, this is the inaugural flight of this 747, at least with me at the helms. I have never flown this aircraft before. So far, the avionics and systems modeling is somewhere along the lines of a default aircraft in FSX. It is not that fancy. Not at least compared with the Captain Sim products, or even the other CLS products that I have, the MD-80 and the DC-10 seem to be far more involved. This seems to be the simplest of the CLS products that I have ever taken a look at.
approaching 06.
Now let's play some music. So hopefully I can fly this aircraft successfully, and it'll become a big moneymaker for Vintage Airlines, or Vintage Airways. Sadly, it's been probably about 2 decades. Since we've flown down there. Today we are on a chartered flight full of insurance adjusters. I'm sure we'll be making many more flights in the coming days to other parts of the country. And we have a new crew.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has advised that we are now clear for takeoff.
Hello there,
Plus set.
Team Nice. Engine run up. Make sure EPM doesn't get too high. Looks good. Auto brake set to RTO.
On taxiway.
Yeah, you're lying.
80 knots.
Rotate should be at 178. going to want to take just about all of this runway in order.
B1. B1. Positive rate. Light slope alive.
Gear up.
That was not too bad. So auto throttle.
Flaps 5. Flaps up.
175. Proceed on course. Climb and maintain 9 south. Turn right heading 175. Resume on navigation. Climb and maintain 9 south. Tango Bravo 821 heavy.
Climb rate of 2,500.
Tango Bravo 821 heavy. Contact St. Louis departure on 123.7. Point 123.7. Tango Bravo 821 heavy. St. Louis departure. Tango Bravo 821 heavy is climbing to 5,100. 19,000. Tango Bravo 821 heavy. St. Louis departure. Roger. Altimeter 3026.
Light slope alive.
Okay. Hello, B3 burner. Yes, this is the first time I've ever flown this aircraft, so yeah, it seems to be very simplistic in the aircraft system's modeling. It actually seems to be not that much more complex than a default aircraft in FSX, which is a little bit disappointing. I'm probably going to need to look up on my laptop here in a minute, but I'm currently simulcasting to both Twitch and YouTube. So if I seem to be talking to or about people and answering questions and you don't see the chat, well, I'll try to say if it's coming from Twitch or from YouTube. But this is the inaugural flight with this aircraft for me. And of course, how do I do it? By live streaming it and proudly admitting I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. Well, I...
to use your portable electronic device. Ladies and gentlemen, we're now serving beverages. Soft drinks around the house. Alcoholic beverages, they're gonna cost you.
I like this new aircrew.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now serving cold sandwiches. You have a choice of turkey, ham, or roast beef. The captain has turned off the seatbelt sign. We're now cleared to move out the cabin.
What did they say? Flight level 210? You can do that. So how's everybody this evening over on Twitch and YouTube? Let me know in the chat section. I probably will not be using time acceleration. Okay, we're at 10,000 feet.
Yeah, why are we going way the hell over there? Southwest 3754 with you. Southwest 3754, Kansas City Center, roger. Takeoff Bravo 821, heavy. Contact Kansas City Center on 121.25. 121.25, takeoff Bravo 821, heavy. Southwest 3754, contact Kansas City Center on 121.25. Going to 121.25, Southwest 3754.
Speed hold, nav lock, engaged, floor. I guess there must be like a small section. I don't know why we are basically making a giant circle.
Kansas City Center, takeoff Bravo 821, heavy, just climbing through 13,000, flight level 210. Takeoff Bravo 821, heavy, Kansas City Center, roger, altimeter 3025.
But we're practicing a backdack ascent. Just seem to be flying around in a giant circle. We'll see what. Autopilot should be engaged. I think the course should be somewhere around like 175. What does my handy dandy cheat sheet here say? 176, okay, 175 should get us there. So why are we... wondering if this is an indicative nature of CLS products. Bank angle limiter? There's something really weird going on here. Yeah. So am I. I was looking for the bank angle limiter. So 115.7 should be Farmington. FAM. Yeah, it is the Steam version. This is probably
transition altitude.
one of my last flights. I don't know how much longer we have until we reach what they consider to be international company. Can't be too long. Why the hell? I switched over to Nav 1 radio, so I mean we can go 4-to-4 navigation or VOR to VOR, whatever terminology you want to use for radio, the old-fashioned way, essentially. We better give our people on board, how about an episode of the Mythbusters here?
Ladies and gentlemen, we have started the in-flight movie for your entertainment. You will find headphones to your left and a volume and language control to the right. For those of you that don't care to pay for the headphones, please enjoy this silent film.
Okay, so 115, because eventually this will become our nav 2, so I'm just going to go ahead. DME, 41 nautical miles. Okay, radio navigation seems to be working just fine. Had about 325 knots. I guess we're high enough. Might be able to put it to Mach 0.7. Okay, so why is GPS? Yeah, GPS is just, I don't. The GPS setting is not not doing what it's supposed to be doing. I've come to that conclusion.
Kansas City, Center, Tango Bravo 821, heavy, descent, flight level
I have no idea what the hell is going on with that, but
Tango Bravo 821 heavy, Kansas City Center, roger. Tango Bravo 821 heavy, turn right heading 175, proceed on course.
turn right heading 175, proceed on course. Tango Bravo 821, heavy.
so we're
821 heavy, flight level 280.
acknowledge.
Climate maintain, flight level 280. Tango Bravo 821, heavy.
We should be able to manage 1,500 feet per minute. So continue our climb out of St. Louis here. Photorealistic scenery. Wave to my house as we leave home. Labadee coal power plant right there. Or Labadee. I've always heard it pronounced Labadee. Ameren UE, or what used to be UE, now Ameren. So we keep going down this way. I might be able to point out my farms. I don't think it ever made it to YouTube, but I was recording an FsPassengers video about 2 years ago, and I think I was flying, I think it was the bush pilot scenario. And I was trying to do like the maximum one. It was going to take me a couple of years, but an FSX last year on me just kicked the bucket and had to be reinstalled, and I didn't have time last year to do it, literally until Christmas break. So I've literally had a bunch of these aircraft for 18 months that I've never flown. I bought them like 18 months ago, like, oh sure, I'm going to get to use them, and I never have. That's part of the reason why I'm going ahead and doing this YouTube series before I finish transitioning over to X-Plane. The other part of it is, X-Plane lacks an FsPassengers plugin. I've been working on programming on one in my spare time. Usually 3 or 4 days a week. I've been able to work on it a couple hours a day most of this year, and it's now just about to the point where I'm ready to show the first public version of where I am. And I mean, I still got a ways to go in areas, but a lot of the things now isn't so much figuring out how to do it, which was the problem the first about 6 months, was learning the SDK and all the variables and all the data refs that the X-Plane SDK has to offer, as it is dialing things in. Like, how many points should you lose because of turbulence? Should you lose points because of turbulence? How does that affect passenger satisfaction rates? Eventually, I would like it to be where if you have a plane of 364 people, they come on the plane, and some of them are in a good mood, some of them are in bad moods, and that kind of all goes to a place of passenger satisfaction, but that's probably another 6 to 8 months. It's one of those things. I just need to make everything work first, and then as time goes on, and again, if I make enough sales off of it this holiday season, to support me spending more time on it, because there's, if I could replace my what is today my main day job with programming flight simulator stuff, that would make me very happy. Fortunately, it doesn't take a whole lot to replace that income, frankly. And I have my farms and stuff like that that provide the bulk of my, well, I make about as much off that as I do from working. Or I should say my main client that basically pays me a monthly retainer fee to maintain their websites. Then I have 1 or 2 other projects that I'm always working on for other people as side gigs. In fact, that's why I haven't done more on the flight sim stuff over the past month. Is one of my longtime clients came to me and was like, I need a mobile application written. Here's 15 grand. So I've been working on that the past 6 weeks. Can't say no to the money right now. Because that should help the time that my wife is off for maternity leave next year, next spring. Or pay for college fund. All of those fun things, being a responsible adult and parent. Fortunately, for like the first 6 months or so, they sleep so often that I've got to figure out a place in my flight sim cockpit area to put a little baby jumper. And I can have my co-pilot sleeping on me as I flight sim. I have a feeling it is also going to involve the purchase of a better headset than the one I own currently for the computer. Should be able to hit Mach 0.82. May not necessarily be the most fuel efficient. Love it. It shows you your position, but this is a non-functional INS system. It'd be cool if it did work like it does in the L1011. So trim. Okay, so whatever that didn't like, it's gone away, so I'm going to say that's not bad. Again, as far as detail goes in flying this aircraft, oh yeah, I guess I should program in our next radio frequency. Got to talking here, and that was not, this was the earlier flight this afternoon, so I want 14114.5. 67 nautical miles, and then after that ARG, that's so Illinois in fall, Missouri in eternal summer. That is the one thing about using that's probably Lake Wapapella, I think. Trying to get some bearings here. That looks like 67. Yeah, that's Poplar Bluff. Then into farms. Yeah, this is Poplar Bluff because this is 60 here. And then this is the new cutoff around Poplar Bluff. Used to have to go downtown Poplar Bluff and then it would reconnect to 67. Basically, well, 67 would go down here. This kind of bypasses it all. My farm, this is 67 here. Some of my farms are right there. That's the creek that goes through the big farm, my dad's farm. So, right in there is where there's that 67 down through there. I'm having a hard time figuring out. I think that's 67. That's the case. Anyway, of this photorealistic here, That right there is one of our farms. Other farm. Okay. Oh crap, I can't tell which one exactly it is, because we're very, very close. But literally right about... Oh. We're a little bit too far over. Their other farm is about right in here, but that's one of our farms right there. I can tell you that much. There's our other farm. Right in there. We own... I think it's right in there. Might be... a little bit off. Anyway, I might not be pointing, but right in here, we own, my dad and I own, a few hundred acres. But this is right over here is where our farm is. Having a hard time picking out exactly which plot of land. And then here's the Missouri-Arkansas border. We're just a couple of miles off the border. But yeah, right in here's our farms. Oh, I have a PPL. Hi, Reese Boynton. And over on the YouTube side. And Super Lime Gonzi, or Super... Crap, I can't read that. My eyes aren't what they used to be. I have a PPL. Have joined a flying club about 18 months ago. And have access to a couple of Cessnas, a Piper Archer. They have a DA-20 now, but I don't have the hours in it for insurance write-off, so I can't fly that solo, and it's also the most expensive aircraft to rent at the flying club. So... yeah, but right over there is where my farms are. My dad and mine. Ah, Super Evil Mega Nazi. There we go. It's one of those things. My eyes aren't what they used to be when looking at the smaller screen. I have it on a 13-inch laptop that's about 2 or 3 feet from me. No, those are not the standard FSX textures. That is Mega Earth Scenery, Missouri. And the other thing that's kind of a little bit confusing is that's Missouri about circa 2012. But it is photorealistic. And the thing about photorealistic is...
Excuse me, Captain.
It is
you know
a set...
what the weather will be like when we land? I hate it when I get off the airplane and the freezing cold.
And then we're into auto-generated fall scenery. But with photorealistic scenery, it is a specific date and time. And it can be a little bit confusing because we've done a lot into the farms in the past 5 years. in terms of leveling, grain bins, Quonset hut, airplane hangar. And I do fly down to the farm, usually a couple of times in the summer, just to use my hours and keep my flight hours up. But usually that's a Cessna 172. And I fly down to Corning Municipal. And then either arrange to meet with the farmer and he picks me up, or leaves a pickup truck for me. The FBO also has a courtesy car. And there's also a private airstrip, a dirt strip. The folks that own the farm next to my dad's small place is the guy that owns the crop dusting company down there. So I could use his airfield if I ever wanted to. But I don't like landing on dirt strips, especially not with a rented aircraft or an airplane that isn't mine. If I buy a plane, that might be a little bit of a different story, but that's a couple of years off. There was a Piper Cherokee for sale here close to me that met almost all of my criteria and at the right price. Unfortunately, the house needed siding this year, so nope. Next radio frequency is 113.9, that's Little Rock. And program nav 2, 114.5. What I like to see. Tells me we're not necessarily off course. Hello, viewers on YouTube. By the way, I am simulcasting to both YouTube and Twitch via restream.io. So, Super Evil Mega Nazi on Twitch says he would like to get a TBM 930 or a PC-12. Had the money? I would agree with you on that. I don't have that kind of money either. I'm looking at something that's probably closer to a Beach Bonanza or a Piper Cherokee. Cessna 182. Those are kind of the three main general families of aircraft that I'm looking at. I'm willing to bet that I probably end up with a Cessna 182. I'm now kind of one of those, oh, I must have one of these. As far as looks and stuff like that goes, I would love to have a DA-40. I say that having not even been able to fly the DA-20 yet. I love the looks of the DA-40. I like the economics of the DA-40, especially if they ever certify the diesel engine for the US. I don't like is it doesn't have a very good useful load, and I want something that I can fly 3 or 4 people and some luggage a few hundred miles. I also need to get my high performance endorsement. Oddly enough, I do have my complex endorsement, and that's because I had an old retractable landing gear 172 that my neighbor had. That was my flight instructor. Yeah, and I've looked at the DA42 as well, but the price tag on it. Two things. I'd have to get my multi-engine rating, which that's about $2,500 right now, which in the grand scheme of things in aircraft, not that much. But the problem with flying a multi-engine aircraft is I know that so nav, instead of being set to GPS, is set to nav 1. I've not been setting my radios correctly, and it's been going on the path. If I put it to GPS, it screws up. Okay. But yeah, my criteria is I would like a 1,000-pound useful load. Range, I'm not... So long as it can go about 300 or 400 nautical miles, I'm good. Because the truth be told, if I'm doing cross-country, I'm not staying in the air longer than about 2.5 to 3 hours. At about 3 hours, I'm wanting to find an airport to land, go stretch your legs, and stuff like that. The people are like, I go flying for 6 hours at a time. That's frankly, especially you start getting into middle age and stuff like that, that gets to be dangerous with blood clots forming and stuff like that. It's no different than you shouldn't sit in a car for 5 or 6 hours. No different in a small aircraft. So generally, I much rather stop a little bit more often, refuel, get out, stretch legs, use a bathroom, continue on. Yeah, I don't know about pressurized cabin so much as you want a lavatory. I mean, shoot, the airplane I was looking at had oxygen equipped. So I think it's service ceiling, or it was 18,000. It was either one I was looking at was like 14.5. The other one was 18,000. Which I will say that much: if you can get up to those altitudes in a single engine prop, it sips fuel. You can go a lot further on the same amount of gas. But normally I fly about 8,500 for cross country, 65 to 8,500. Yeah, excuse me, it's getting late here. Can't live without the lavatory because you have to clean it yourself. Yeah. I could see that. Although you start getting up to a certain point, and frankly, the way to go is NetJets. Just to get a NetJet card and have somebody else fly it. In the life of luxury. That being said, in the last 5 years, there was a MiG-21 for sale out in California. And I actually ran the numbers on it through my little spreadsheet. I could afford to buy the airplane, and the damnedest thing is it was under an experimental certification. It only required a single engine land rating in order to fly the damn thing VFR. But I calculated it was going to cost $5,000 an hour to insure and keep the damn thing in the air. Not to mention the $3,500 an hour in fuel the thing burned. So I could afford to buy it. I couldn't afford to fly it, so I passed on that one. There was a few other things. It was owned by an aviation museum in San Diego, and they offered engineering services and stuff like that on the engine and aircraft in general. And I think that you'd almost have to be A, ultra wealthy, B, somewhere close to Southern California to where you could fly it down there and have them perform the annual and any maintenance that you need done. Because I'm not sure how many AMPs would have experience or knowledge on how to operate on a 50-year-old Soviet fighter jet. The other aircraft that I saw not too long ago was a 727 VIB that was the Colorado Rockies team plane for many years.
Bet you didn't know I used to be a pilot. But then I had a family and decided to be a flight attendant. Oh, I used to love flying.
I like, this is the first time that I've used this co-pilot and pilot pack, sound pack for FsPassengers. I like this flight attendant a lot better than the other one. Yeah, L39. If I wanted a jet, I'd be looking at like an Eclipse or I'm not sure what else. Jets are a little bit, are certainly out of my price range. Single engine prop that's probably a 1970s era that has low hours since overhaul and new propeller. Basically what I'm looking for. I know a lot of people today, it was funny. I hadn't flown that much in since 2007. I'd basically only flown a few hours a year, enough to keep my license up, basically. And whenever I joined the flying club, you have to spend so many hours with an instructor before the insurance will sign off and you can rent the aircraft solo. Basically, you got to prove that you know how to handle the basics of the aircraft, know a couple of emergency procedures, what have you, and that you can safely operate the airplane. And I hopped in with a flight instructor, and I have my paper charts and my E6B, and it's like, "Where's your iPad?" I'm like, "At home." Like, "What? You don't have ForeFlight?" I'm like, "Nope." Sad part is, he was about 10 years younger than I was. But he couldn't believe that people got pilot's license back in the day before GPS was ubiquitous. I'm like, yeah, back in my day, GPS was like $30,000 worth of electronics into a light aircraft, into a general aviation aircraft. So, didn't see it all the time. Yeah. That was just it. I'm like, I know kid had gone to Warrensburg, had a degree in aviation.
Wind shear, wind shear, wind shear.
Thank you. That woke me up real quick.
Tango Bravo 821 Heavy. Contact Memphis Center on 127.825. Going to 127.825.
It was 26-27, so
Wind shear, wind shear.
about 10 years younger than I am. You know, doing the CFI thing to get his hours up, get hired by the regionals. And, so about 5.2 nautical miles. Next waypoint will be 11. So 11. But anyway, yeah, it was like
Wind shear.
paper
Wind shear.
charts and
Wind shear.
P6B, and you don't have an iPad? I thought it was kind of funny. I'm like, yeah. There was a time before. There was a time before GPS, laddie. Now get off my lawn. And I think all the Flying Club aircraft have Garmin 430s in them. Can't remember. Some of them are, well, actually none of the GPSs are linked into the autopilot systems. The Piper has a, oh crap, KFC 150, or no, is it KFC or CAP 150? I can't remember which autopilot system it has in there. It's either a KFC 150 or a CAP 150. I think it's a CAP 150. And then the Cessnas don't have autopilots. Because the Cessnas are really for flying around, you know, doing a Sunday afternoon stroll around with a couple of friends, or flight training. The Archer is more for cross-country flying. Yeah. There was an aircraft that had a sextant in the roof. Actually, there were several. Many of the early cross-Atlantic aircraft in the 1930s and 40s did have them, but I think there was also a jet, an early jet. I want to say it was wasn't the de Havilland Comet. I'd have to look it up, but yes, there were. Airliners that did have a sextant in it back in the, I wouldn't say in the 40s or 50s, including one of the early jets. No, it was kind of surprising at the number of people that just, you know, oh, well, ForeFlight and Jepson charts, and I think if you had to give them a FAA sectional, an E6B, and a FAA charts, they wouldn't know what to do. But maybe the early 707. Oh, an FSX P3D. I haven't seen anything in any of the flight simulators that accurately simulate that. Maybe it was the 707. Although the 707 had inertial navigation and Doppler navigation, not a Doppler radar navigation-based system, which which is kind of modeled in the Captain 707.
Have you ever been to Hawaii? I went last summer. It's incredibly beautiful there.
Well, in one of our earlier FsPassengers videos that are on my YouTube channels, or on my YouTube channel, yes, indeed, we did fly to Hawaii. We, in fact, flew all around Hawaii. And I took an L-1011 out of, I think it was San Francisco, Portland, LA, Phoenix? I think it was Phoenix. And flew to Hawaii. And then once we got there, got a 727-100 and flew all about the islands in a Pan Am 707 or a 727-100.
American 616, turn right, heading 065.
Including a couple of very interesting approaches over mountains that then required dove for the deck. Reno was like that too, which surprised me because I was flying that at night. It's like mountains and 2,000 feet per minute descent rate into the runway. Did that one the 727-200. Hello, YouTube viewers. I'm simulcasting on both Twitch and YouTube. So if it seems like I'm responding to questions and stuff in the chat you're not seeing, it's because it's people from the other platform. So this is my first time flying the CLS 747-300 in the CLS livery. And commercial level simulations are usually described as intermediate. I would, from what I've seen thus far with this aircraft, I would call it simple. There isn't that much difference here between this aircraft and a default FSX in terms of complexity. There are other products that I have, the DC-10 series and the MD-80, while not study sim quality aircraft, are certainly intermediate level, and this one's even far more simpler than that.
Contact Fort Worth Center on 128.2. 128.2 for Tango Bravo 821 Heavy. Fort Worth Center, Tango Bravo 821.
So we're flying down to Houston Intercontinental with 357 insurance adjusters on board. And I'm sure plenty of relief supplies. And if this doesn't get us to international status, for some reason, it says in the description for this scenario that it's based on the number of aircraft your airline has and the rating of the company. But I actually looked at the victory conditions in the configuration file for the scenario, and it doesn't matter how many aircraft whether you have 1 or 50, it's all about just the rating to get to international company, which is customer satisfaction. And it's at 95, almost 96%. It should be at 96% after this flight. I don't think it has to be 100%. Maybe it does. I don't know. See the pilots there. So So no, this is not the PMDG Queen of the Skies 1, 2, 3, or 5. We're kind of a little bit more retro, but we have moved on to the 1980s. We are in the 1980s in terms of EFIS, or Electronic Flight Instrument Systems, with these type of displays. So we're a little bit out of the steampunk era of flying. Basically because last year,
Wind shear.
I had issues with FSX.
Wind shear.
And I had better cloud textures and stuff like that installed, but I didn't feel like going through the hassle of reinstalling those whenever I had to wipe out FSX. And I knew that at that point, FSX was a legacy product, and that the future was going to probably be X-Plane or Prepared. Unfortunately, most of my stuff won't work in Prepared. The CLS stuff, I think, will, but like all of the Captain Sim products, they want you to rebuy it, and I'm just not going to do it. Same thing with FsPassengers. I don't know about FS Captain, and I'm just not going to go there. What I might do is load up Air Hauler 2 with Prepared next year and do a series whenever Air Hauler 2 finally gets released. But I have some other issues with Air Hauler at the moment. So I decided that, I must say, all of this stuff I've bought on sale, like all of my Captain Sim products, I bought those on sale over the course of 2 or 3 years when they go on sale for $10 in January. Right, but I'm going to be moving over to X-Plane 11 primarily. In fact, as soon as this series of FsPassengers ends, yeah, for Orbix and Rex, that's true. It's the aircraft that the developers, some of them like CLS, if it works in version 4, they don't make you rebuy it. Like the DC-10, probably this aircraft, a couple others. But like all of the Captain Sim products, they require separate purchase for Prepared. FsPassengers requires a separate purchase for Prepared, and so on. So I figured I was going to be moving on to X-Plane 11 either anyway, and I'm developing an FS. It's more of a cross between FS Captain and FsPassengers. In fact, the FS Captain part of it's going to be available and working first. The economic side of the FsPassenger side of being able to manage the airline part. We'll see if I have it done by this Christmas. There's a lot of work to be done there. Basically, it took me 6 months, and I'd spent 3 months writing initially things in Lua, and a Lua-based scripting language for X-Plane, and then I needed access to like SQLite database, and found that the library for that and Lua was somewhat lacking and not really there with X-Plane 11 or any of the interfaces for it, so I ended up having to then rewrite it in Python, because it would take me even more time to go back and pick up C++, because I haven't dealt with C++ in 15 years, or C or C++ in 15 years. So those skills are very rusty. And it's almost one of those things that if I get the logic figured out, and the product isn't remotely successful this Christmas, then spring, summer, I'll hire somebody to recode it and see. The performance of the Python interface in X-Plane doesn't seem to be that bad, at least not thus far. With the C-172, there's Dreamfoil Labs Cessna 172 that is very close. And, like the Archer with the rep pack is, even though it is a Coronado aircraft, the rep pack is as close as, well, I won't say as close as you can possibly get, but it's pretty dead on for an at-home flight simulator. But have you checked out the Zebo mod for the default 737 on X-Plane? Because there's some handy-dandy freeware stuff out there, and then I have flying JSIMs 732 and 727, although the 732 is getting an update. The 727 does work in 11, and, well, I just like flying the 727 in general. But up until this point, I've been using X-Plane since about version 6 or 7. Because I didn't get X-Plane or FSX until 2014 when it came available on Steam for $5. And the fact that it was $5 is the reason why I got it. And I've spent substantially more than $5 buying aircraft, but not that much. I think I've spent about $60, $70 total on Captain Sim products, and about another $45 on CLS products. So I probably have about $200, $250 into FSX. The Zebo, the ZIBO, Zulu India, I want to say Bravo, but is it Bravo? And also earlier today I was also flying Falcon BMS, so I'm getting terminology screwed up between military and civilian. Yeah, Zulu India Bravo Oscar. Yeah, the Zebo mod brings the default 737 and X-Plane up to very close to the IEGX, which is the, whatever it is, PMDG equivalent. The aircraft that I'm really looking forward to in X-Plane is the MD-11 by Rotate, whenever it comes along. That's going to be a shut up, here's my money. DCS will probably be around December. Alright. Next frequency here. No. Why do I keep doing that? I keep pulling up for my last flight. So next will be 112.1. I must say, I had the L1011 for X-Plane 10. I guess I could still download it and put it on. I don't know if it works in 11. But I thought I had saw something the other day that said that it had been upgraded to work with 11. Or was that the DC-8? Well, hey, that was our flight earlier today, was a L1011. You can see it on my previous Twitch stream. And over on YouTube, well, I need to be doing some editing, highlights, whatever you want to call it. Including, I recorded it, but I did not upload it I will be uploading it to Twitch probably tomorrow, as well as to YouTube, and that will be flying into the hurricane earlier today with the L-1011. Okay. Oh, good. But I will be putting that up in the video on demand section, because I recorded it because I was also doing stuff around the house during most of the flight, so I didn't want to be tied down. You know, kind of get up, flip on the inertial navigation system, go out, mow the yard, come back in. Make sure the plane hasn't crashed yet. And hello, folks over on the YouTube side of things. I'm talking with Super Evil Mega Nazi over on Twitch. So I am simulcasting to both Twitch and YouTube here. Trying that out. Ah, okay, so you're Sahar. See, that's the thing. I have a feeling that there's a number of people that are like, oh, I'm this other person over on YouTube. But I remember the L-1011s flying into St. Louis with TWA, and Eastern. Eastern also flew the aircraft in. And I want to say the Eastern route, there's a great website out there called departedflights.com, where the guy, I mean, it looks like it was designed in 1998 front page, and it's not the best laid out website or designed website, but he has a lot of archived, scanned footage of the old books that airlines used to have to tell you what their flight schedules and stuff would be from different points in time for all the different airlines, and has, as far as digital archive.
Hello, Captain. Hey, do you know any good places to get a drink when we land?
Haha. Where are we going, to Houston? Well, I did know where some good places were to go get a drink in Houston. Unfortunately, they've all been flooded out. Interestingly enough, I think that those Royal Jordanian aircraft are still part of a charter airline that is based out of, I think it is Jordan. Because I looked up to see if there was any L-1011 still flying, and there's like only 5 or 6, and 3 of them was owned by this charter company based out of Jordan. However, their website's last update date was like 2013, so I don't know if those aircraft are still airworthy or not. I have a feeling that that's probably where they got those aircraft from. And then ATK Orbital Sciences has an L-1011. They ferried an L-1011 in 2011 from Roswell, Mexico to Kansas City Wheeler Downtown Airport, where it's supposed to be on display at the Aviation Museum there. Next time I'm in Kansas City, I plan to go look that up. But the Captain Sim L-1011, I think, does have the Royal Jordanian. Is it that, or is it the... whenever we land, or whenever I land, I'll take a look. But I'm almost sure that that livery exists out there. I think the Jordanian Air Force also had a couple of L-1011s in freighter configuration at one time. Or was it for troop transport? Don't know. I'd have to look that up. Yeah, it's like all these things are textured, but almost none of them actually do anything, like unarmed. Okay, so that's armed.
Echo Bravo 821 Heavy. Contact Houston Center on 134.8. Point 134.8. Echo Bravo 821.
Well, the L-1011 almost sunk Lockheed. Now, Lockheed had to get bailed out by the U.S. government in the 70s, and it was the last commercial airline or commercial aircraft Lockheed ever produced. It was a very sophisticated and advanced aircraft. In many ways, it was the first real modern jet airliner and pioneered features like Autoland. In terms of basic layouts and functionalities, you know, it had a lot of systems that you would find in 767s, 777s, and airliners that you would think that would come from a later era. Now I'm thinking here that we should probably be getting vectors for approach and orders to descend here any second now. There's only, what, about 250 L-1011s built? But they were the last of the first generation wide bodies on the market. And by the time they did come on the market, that's when you started to see the first Airbus A300 series. And in the 1980s, you know, well, still a decade later, when ETOPS was approved, well, twin-engine wide bodies ruled the marketplace. There wasn't a reason to have that third engine anymore, other than sucking down more fuel. Yeah, only about. There we go. There's the instruction.
Wind shear. Wind shear. Wind shear. Wind shear. Wind shear. Wind shear.
Well, not necessarily. The wide bodies didn't go away. I mean, as far as that goes, technically speaking, the 747 is still in production. 767, any aircraft that's a two-aisle aircraft is considered wide body. So you had you just had more efficient aircraft, 767s, 777s, now the 787s, along with their Airbus counterparts, A330. But the things that held the L-1011 back, you know, a third engine that's just sucking down a third more fuel, and you had to have a flight engineer on board, where the more modern airliners only required a pilot and co-pilot. A computer had replaced the flight engineer. Oh, hey, that's extra weight and an extra salary you don't need in order to complete a flight. Oh, nice to know that our sprint brakes are armed for landing. I'm hoping we don't get a visual approach to Houston. I'm hoping that we get a ILS approach. Also, I'm going to be requesting an ILS approach because, yeah, I've never landed this aircraft before, and could go very well, could go very poorly.
Wind shear. Wind shear. Wind shear.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are descending to our destination. Please fasten your seatbelt and ensure that all electronic devices are in their off position.
Yes, I've taken to always going and looking in here to find out what the 8 left. So 115 point or 111.55. We'll expedite descent. $10,000.
Captain, we're passing transition altitude.
We'll cheat. Press the button. What's our parameter pressure? B. Excuse me a second here, I'm about to sneeze. Okay, back. I mean, it does have a few things like, oh, well, we can have a sun visor that suddenly appears, which is kind of somewhat cool. don't have the time to, well, you know, have the time to flight sim, but I've played, not really much anymore. I really haven't played too many real-time strategy games since the era of Red Alert. I'm like the original Red Alert.
Tango Bravo 821 Heavy. Contact Houston Center on +20.4. 120.4. Tango Bravo 821 Heavy.
Although I did pick up a fun little game called Home Wars, where it's green little army men versus bugs, and
Tango Bravo 821 Heavy. Houston approach. Roger. Altimeter 3007.
I've heard of that. It's been on my agenda, one of the Steam sales, to pick it up. I just never have with Wargame Red Dragon.
And Captain, we're descending below 2,000.
Okay. Oh, it's on Steam sale? I'll have to take a look at it. The problem that I've always had with real-time strategy games is this. I start playing, it'll be 6 o'clock in the afternoon. The next thing I know, it's 6:30 in the morning. The next morning. There's that one, and then there's the new Battlestar game that there was, oh, Homeworld. That was the other game that whenever it originally came out. I didn't get the remastered. The original Homeworld sucked enough of my life out. So, flaps.
Flaps 1. Flaps 5.
So we can do flaps 5. I hope keep our airspeed down. And our nose down as well. Well, at one time, there was a Battlestar Galactica mod for Homeworld that was a hell of a lot of fun, although it was never completed. Probably so. I saw that and I was like, what the hell? No. That's not... That's like, let's make a real-time strategy game and just put the name Homeworld on it, with it really having nothing to do with Homeworld.
Flaps 10.
Tango Bravo 8, check 1, heavy. Turn left, heading 205. Turn left, heading 205. Tango Bravo 821, heavy. Tango Bravo 8, check 1, heavy. Turn left, heading 175. Turn left, heading 175. Tango Bravo 821, heavy.
Yeah, that kind of seemed like what I had seen. Okay, so we're 25 miles. Looks like we have DME capture.
$2,500.
So if I stop paying attention to the chat in the next 5-10 minutes, it's because we're getting ready for landing here.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has been given clearance to land. Please remain seated until the aircraft has come to a
Gear down.
stop.
Hey there, Space Trucker over on YouTube. Not quite space trucking tonight. Instead, we're bringing insurance, adjusters, claims adjusters, 357 to Houston. To tell how many people that they weren't covered because they didn't have flood insurance. Flying the CLS, yeah. It looks like on the outside, flying with the CLS liveried. $0.08 for vintage Airways. Since, yes, this is considered to be a vintage aircraft this day and age. Although we've kind of gone from the decades, from 50s to the 60s to the 70s, now this is a 1980s aircraft.
Tango
check a couple of things here. Seems like we've turned a little bit too far. 085.
Inbound by 11, runway 8 left approach. Tango Bravo 821 Heavy, Houston Tower. Straight in, runway 8 left, altimeter 3006. Fly straight in, runway 8 left, Tango Bravo 821 Heavy.
No, Space Trucker, I have not done a Concorde video. I do not have FS Labs Concorde. That requires a separate add-on. When I switch to P3D, I may pick it up. Oh, no problem. No, I do not stream it. Unfortunately, don't have it. Don't have a Concorde. Something is not...
Light slope alive.
Okay, so that is not...
Light slope alive.
This is not accurate. It does not flip to where it should be. It says here glide slope is alive.
Light slope alive.
Shouldn't matter if I'm using nav 1 or nav 2. Should detect it either way.
Flaps 20.
So, good to know that knob does not move correctly. So we were on GPS, it just didn't move. War localizer, approach hold, alright. Again, this is the first time I've flown this aircraft, so I'm getting familiar with all of its quirks and stuff. Hey there, Bondogram. Over on YouTube. Space Trucker also on YouTube. So yes, first time flying the CLS 747-300. Spoilers armed. Auto brake armed. So 25 at 205.
Flaps 25.
All right. And 175. Yep, that's the correct runway. Glide slope captured. So we're landing at the runway that doesn't have a meatball. Okay. This is only a 8,000-foot runway, too.
Glide slope, 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 glide slope.
Approaching 08 left.
$500. 500. 400. 400. 300. Approaching minimums. 200. Minimums. 100. 100. 50. 40. 30. 50. 20. 40. 10. 30.
Long landing.
20.
Long landing.
Come on.
Spoilers.
4,000 feet remaining. 3,000 feet remaining.
80 knots. 60 knots.
2,000 feet remaining.
Tango Bravo 821 Heavy. Exit runway when able.
Ladies and
Left
gentlemen,
20,
please
left 5,
settle your seats
up.
until the aircraft has come to a complete stop.
Well, not probably my best landing ever.
Bravo 821 Heavy. Contact ground on 118.575. Point 118.575. Tango Bravo 821 Heavy. Houston, ground. Tango Bravo 821 Heavy. Request taxi to the gate. Tango Bravo 821 Heavy. Taxi to gate Delta. Form taxiway Foxtrot Hotel. Foxtrot Delta. Foxtrot Hotel. November Papa. November Bravo.
But safely on the ground.
Taxiing to gate Delta. Form using taxiway Foxtrot Hotel. Foxtrot Delta. Foxtrot Hotel. November Papa. November Bravo. Tango Bravo 821 Heavy.
Let's do those. Yeah, I had to fly over debris on the runway. We'll go with that. More like first time ever flown this aircraft and tried to land it that wasn't quite sure what its behavioral characteristics. Didn't look like it was exactly lined up on the runway with ILS. I'm not sure I like this song either. That's better. And hello, viewers on both Twitch and YouTube. I am simulcasting through Restream.io. And I can see chats from both. Unfortunately, you probably can't. Therefore, if it seems like I'm responding to somebody's questions, such as Justin Marshner, if I'm probably butchering that one wrong. The other thing, I have the chat up on a 13-inch monitor that's about 3-4 feet away from me, and my eyesight isn't what it once was.
Approaching 2-6 left.
Once we
Approaching 2-6 left.
get to our parking spot, I will go back and look at the landing again from various different angles while that we do this and unload our passengers. This could be the final flight of Vintage Airways. It may not be, on the other hand. I don't know. I looked at the victory conditions for this scenario. We're doing the international company scenario, and it didn't matter how big your aircraft fleet is. It seemed to only matter to get the reputation score up. Differential braking with some differential thrust. That's not the worst I've heard. Oh, about to say, whenever this week getting into the Falcon 4 Korea campaign, that's going to be a lot of fun, just to hear me butcher the name of Korean cities and air bases. Basically, if it's not in English or German or Dutch, I have basically no hope of getting the enunciation right. Hey, look at our precise arrival time with 357 insurance adjusters on this chartered flight. That's what I'm going to go with. This was a chartered flight by State Farm or Allstate or whatever insurance agency wishes to sponsor my shows. Ah, Sie sind Deutsche. Flight Sim ist sehr... was ist das deutsche Wort für... hier, popular. Ich habe so viele vergessen. Und das war meine Hauptfach an der Universität, war Deutsch und International Wirtschaft. Und jetzt... ich kann ein bisschen Deutsch sprechen. So ja, die nächste Mal, die fliegen, ach, sehr schlecht. Ah, meine Deutsch ist sehr schlecht. Das ist alles auf Deutsch. So, guten Morgen, meine Damen und Herren. I can start my flights that way. We're going to call this probably close enough. Doesn't appear to be any APU. Let's see if the jetway can find... Hey, parking job wasn't that bad. For me, at least.
Hope you will join us again.
Well, Yes, now I have a farm, but prior to that, I had a software company that we dealt with point-of-sale, online ordering integration with a couple of different ERP platforms, and one of our biggest customers was actually in Germany, one of our largest installs. So I did get some use out of my international business and German degrees at one point in my life, but I sold that company about 6 years ago to a larger firm out on the West Coast. And then I bought a farm. Oh, thank you. Alright, so let's see how bad our flight was. I'm sure we're going to get some points because of lights. Okay, we exceeded the flap speed limit by 22 knots. Exceeded the maximum speed of this aircraft. I don't know when we did that, unless it was during one of the points where there's wind shear. And then, yeah, the lights I wasn't too sure about, because sometimes the lights are detected on aircraft and sometimes they aren't with FsPassengers. There you go. Well, touchdown, minus 300 feet per minute, 150 knots, so not horrible there. Pleased to have arrived, exceptional flight, 100%. They feel our reputation should be 96%. Record this flight. And we're still not to international standing. Don't know. So with that, let's go back. I always do 600 seconds and see where that puts us.
Oh,
flaps. Not far enough. So let's go ahead and back 660
Glide
seconds.
slope alive.
So view from the tower coming in. No, it is not the end of Vintage Air. We have not finished the scenario. Now, in the description for the scenario, they say that you need a certain number of aircraft in your fleet. And I believe that may be 10. We were at 7. Unfortunately, I had to sell 3 aircraft in order to purchase this. But they reset the prices of aircraft after every flight. And I was able to acquire a 747 at 78 million for this aircraft in virtual dollars. And I figured that was probably worth it, given the amount of money this aircraft can earn. Wrongly. So I exceeded the maximum flap speed of the aircraft at some point. Again, I'm not exactly sure
Flaps 20.
when. So what are some other views of the aircraft? First class wing view. Man, I look like a goofy smile on my face. So 630 seconds.
Glide slope alive. Forward.
Floated a little bit there. Yes, the rest of the videos are on YouTube. There's about 3 more that I need to upload to YouTube of flights that weren't either streamed. But they should all be under the Vintage Air playlist. I think I did keep the nose up after touchdown for a while. I know that I deployed thrust reversers early before the nose was down. We can go back and
Full flat glide slope alive.
take another look. See, the thing is also the numbers that they want for a very light touchdown. For instance, if you sat down at negative 500 feet per minute, you would take damage in FsPassengers. Whereas in real life, there are aircraft that they, especially like the I think it's a 727 with Tundra kit, that they tell you in wet conditions in the actual flight manual for the aircraft, set it down between 300 and 500 feet per minute. Stick the landing. Whereas in FsPassengers, that would cause you to have damage and blow a tire and all of that stuff. That is one thing that I do not like about FsPassengers that I'm looking at and have built into my add-on for X-Plane, to where that information is stored within the aircraft configuration profile for that aircraft. It's going to be different if you're landing a Cessna than a 747. 747, 400 feet, negative 400 feet per minute. You're not going to sustain any damage. It may be a little bit of a rougher landing, and maybe knock some passenger satisfaction points off, but not going to cause damage to the aircraft. Let's see here, what other exciting views do we have? Yeah, that's not first-class passenger, that's like guy with a goofy smile. A little bit of a wide turn there. What did we say, about 630
Full
seconds?
flat glide slope alive.
That really didn't do much. Yeah, the one that's not onto YouTube yet, it is a previous stream here on Twitch, is the DC-10 from last night. That was rather disastrous because I was busy talking with Elios instead of paying attention to retracting my flaps. So I had to sell the DC-10, which was a shame because the DC-1030 was a moneymaker for Vintage Airways and FsPassengers.
Flaps 20.
Alright, well, it's 2:20 in the morning here, so it's time to go sleep. Still have to be up, and nice thing is I do work from home now. So whenever I work from home, I live in the Midwest. The company I do work for is in LA. So they didn't get started until 9 o'clock West Coast time, which is about 11 o'clock in the morning here. But I need to be up, or I will be getting up because the puppy dog will wake me up regardless. I want to go for a morning walkie and then come home, and I'm probably going to run some shopping, or usually I actually get my work done for the day between 8 and about 11. And then conference call, because then it's just emails and meetings and crap. Conference calls and all that good business crap that goes on. I don't know, I guess it makes them feel like I'm important and needed and worth to keep paying, which is a good thing. So until then, I will see you next time, but the videos are available on YouTube. The last 3 flights will be made available on YouTube probably this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I might schedule them in advance, so there's additional YouTube content there. Till then, I will see you next time.